Have you ever been in a situation where you read about a movie online, or maybe someone described it to you and you thought to yourself, hey, that sounds awesome. It could have everything that you want in a movie, like co-eds, a cool slasher villain, athletics, TNA, and memorable deaths. Yet no matter how hard you look, you can't find it anywhere. For whatever reason, it's unavailable to the public. The film sounds like the perfect movie for you, and it checks off all your boxes. But you can't watch it legally. Sure, there might be a copy of it on YouTube, but is this really how you want to watch your holy grail type of film? Yeah, I didn't think so. So you hold out hope that the film elements will someday be unearthed, and some boutique Blu-ray label will eventually do a 4K scan and release it. Sometimes you wait, and wait, and wait, but it never gets released. Looking at you, Blood Beach and Home Sweet Home. But then again, that's not always the case. Even movies that many theorized would never get released eventually find it to the home market. Michael Mann's The Keep, anyone? If we can get The Keep, we can get anything. And in 2023, one of my holy grail items was finally released on Blu-ray for the very first time. 1984's Fatal Games. A lost mid-80s slasher with a sports academia theme and a killer who uses said sports equipment, like a javelin, to kill co-eds? Plus, we get to see Linnea Quigley's butt? Sign me up! I am so stoked to finally watch this in HD. Plus, look at Vinegar Syndrome's cover art. A swimming pool? Being a former swimmer myself, this melts my heart. Where have you been all my life? With high hopes comes expectations. Are we just setting ourselves up for failure, or is the hype warranted? Only one way to find out. Let's pop this sucker in and see if it was worth the wait. Welcome to the Hellbound Horror Show. Fatal Games opens with a motivational 80s rock song overlaid on different athletic competitions, and I must say that these are legit athletes.
Being first, that's all that matters. Go all the way, 'cause no one else can do it.
I wonder if we'll get real athletes playing the roles of our disposable teens, or if this opening was made just to fool us. All the athletes who won their respective events and who are going on to the nationals make up our cast. They all attend this school where they don't do schoolwork, but instead, they just train to be in the Olympics. Now, if you thought a philosophy degree was pointless, imagine majoring in javelin. Yikes! At the ceremony celebrating all of them, they run out of napkins.
We have a little problem. What's that? They forgot to pack the napkins. Damn.
So they end up using this long cloth. Well, competitive athletes are competitive, and they turn something as simple as wiping food off their face into tug of war. Oh, they are so goofy. What is this, Animal House or something? At least the film has some charm, and we get TNA early. More movies need this. Boring exposition scene? Just have your actors naked. The audience can't get bored then. By the way, they're on sports-enhancing drugs. Yeah, you might have missed it because you might have been focused on something else. As we get to know our cast, we see that these actors aren't really the pro athletes we were meant to believe. Like, these are not the same swimmers as earlier. It's still impressive for actors, but not as good as the opening titles. I'm not sure about every actor, but I know for sure that Lynn Banashek, who plays our final girl, Annie, was a gymnast in real life, so that's cool. She does a wonderful job both athletically and as an actor. And being a young athlete turned brand new actor, she almost made a huge mistake. When negotiating for the role, she told production that she was comfortable with nudity and would do all the nudity they wanted. Apparently, there was going to be a naked, uneven bars practice at some point in the movie. Well, once Lynn Banashek's agent got a hold of the news, she refused. So we don't see Annie naked at all. Well, I mean, sort of. We see Annie laying down on a table with her butt exposed. Wait a second, that's not Lynn Banishek's butt. Zoom in. I know that butt. I'd recognize it anywhere. That's Linnea Quigley's butt. I didn't see her anywhere else in the movie, but that's her butt for sure. Nice. And even though you don't see Annie naked, you see every other female co-ed naked. So if that's your jam, you'll be swimming in it. But of course, this movie has more to it than just bare breast. It has a seedy coach and athlete relationship, plenty of red herrings, daddy-daughter issues, plenty of stalking, plenty of slashing, and an ending that aged so poorly that you just won't believe it. All of our athletes try to balance intense training with their personal love lives. Everyone is motivated by sex or going for the gold, and sometimes both. What is this, the Olympic Village? Well, someone is stalking our teens. What is the motivation behind this menace? Did they miss out on their Olympic dreams? Did a coach tell them that they weren't good enough to win it all? Or did the pressure of going for gold finally break them? It all sounds great. The foundation is there. I just wish the movie played with these motivations a little bit more. Like the javelin thrower who is constantly angry. His coach berates him, and you think the movie is setting him up to be a red herring, but he's one of the first to die. I mean, let us think that he's the killer for at least a second or two before killing him off. Another red herring they could have played up more is the swimmer who missed making the Olympics by just a hair. Now, there is turmoil between the two swimmers, and one of them is sleeping with the coach. It's a great setup, but it feels like that storyline goes nowhere. The teens don't realize that they're getting picked off one by one. They are basically oblivious to it all. At one point, Annie's boyfriend gets a Major League Baseball tryout where he could potentially turn pro, and Annie is all upset because she wanted to spend some time with him. Like, come on. A pro tryout seems like a big deal, and a few weeks apart shouldn't cause that much of an argument. Eventually, the remaining athletes begin to realize that something fishy is going down, and it all stems from within the school. To try to solve the mystery of the disappearing co-eds, this guy decides to break into the school at night by smashing the window to the bathroom. Too bad the other night they just lifted the window open. He didn't even try to lift it. He just smashed it. Smashed it good. Whatever you do, don't invite this guy to your glass house. Annie ends up at the school at night too, and the killer is hot on her tail. And while Annie may be a champion of gymnastics, she is not a champion of hide and go seek. I feel like she's not very good at this whole hiding thing. Oh, now for the ending. And the ending needs to be talked about. I just don't think I'm like the best person to talk about it. Let's just say it didn't age well. Spoilers ahead. The killer is Diane, the nurse at the school, played by Sally Kirkland. We learn that her mother was a gold medalist at the Olympics. Diane was born a biological male and wanted to win gold so bad, but unfortunately wasn't talented enough. So Diane took different drugs to change her sex to compete as a female. Even though Diane won gold at the Olympics, tests came back with too many male hormones and she was disqualified. She's now jealous of all these young athletes and wants to disqualify them. Honestly, this is really ahead of its time.
There's a heated debate in women's sports over the inclusion of transgender women.
This morning, victory.
Thomas wins the NCAA championship.
And controversy.
Now, the world governing body of swimming has voted to ban transgender athletes.
I'm not on any side of this debate, but there is a debate going on about whether or not biological males should be allowed to compete in women's sports or not. It continues to pop up from time to time, and I can see both sides of the argument. And while this mid-80s slasher may have something interesting or poignant to say, it flubs it all with how it handles this climax. Instead of letting Sally Kirkland do her thing, they pitch shifted her voice to make it sound like a man's voice at the end. Sally felt very disrespected at the change of her voice, and honestly, it's a bit tasteless.
We even became a woman just to win.
It leaves what could have been an interesting yet controversial ending, leaning towards offensive and insensitive instead. Does this failed dismount and landing ruin the rest of the film? To some, I'm sure it does. Movies like Sleepaway Camp, Deadly Blessing, and The House with Laughing Windows all have similar twists somewhere in their story, but they all came out before Fatal Games and honestly handled the subject matter with more tact. To others, they might not mind as much. Of course, some of the themes, characters, and situations didn't age well, but it's an 80s slasher movie! Seriously, what 80s slasher movie actually aged well? I'll wait. Whether it's right or wrong, film is a time capsule. You get to look into the past and experience it for what it was. Fatal Games is a fun movie. For a film that only allowed 1 or 2 takes per shot, it does well for itself. It looks fine, sounds fine, and does a decent enough job at pacing.
This was for the Nationals, remember? And you were supposed to get me in them.
It's definitely not my favorite 80s slasher, but it is worth the watch for some 80s slashing goodness. It may not win the gold, but it might podium. That's all I have for tonight. So thank you so much for watching, and stay spooky, everyone. Thanks for watching until the end. If you've made it this far, feel free to consider liking or subscribing, all that boring stuff, but it actually does help, so it would be appreciated. Coming up next in about 2 weeks will be another horrible horror episode. We actually have some filmed already, but it's basically lifelong horror fans trying to find and watch and make fun of the worst horror movies ever. It's a ton of fun, so definitely check that out. And after that, there'll be some more Vinegar Syndrome coming your way. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully you are too. Thanks for everything. Bye.